still remember the day Emily left me. It was a cold morning, the kind where the world feels a little too still, like even the air knew something was about to break. I had been trying, failing, mostly, to hold on to whatever scraps of a life I had left. And she was there, at least in the beginning. At first her eyes were full of care, of affection. But that day, there was nothing. Just a look of indifference that cut deeper than any words she could have said. "I can't do this anymore." "Liam," she had said, her voice barely above a whisper, but still loud enough to drown out the heartbeats in my chest. I didn't understand. My mind couldn't catch up with the words. "What do you mean?" "We're in this together, Emily. We've been through worse. This isn't the end," but her eyes told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't just leaving. She was abandoning me. "You've changed," she said, shaking her head. "I don't recognize you anymore. You've become someone I can't be with." I remember every part of that moment. The way she stood up, her hand lingering on the back of the couch as if she was just going to leave, then pause and come back. But no, she didn't. She grabbed her bag, the same bag that used to carry our dreams, the one I used to hold on to so tightly, and walked out of the door. That was it. No argument, no explanation, just her back disappearing into the world that was no longer mine. I sat there for what felt like hours, replaying those words in my head. She'd left when I needed her most, when my world had come crashing down around me. My job was failing, my bills were piling up, and she walked away. The girl I thought would be my anchor turned out to be my first lesson in how easily people can leave when things get hard. I never really understood why she left. I thought I was doing everything right. I loved her, damn it. But I wasn't enough. Not when the money was running out, not when the future felt uncertain. And just like that, Emily was gone. Her absence filled the empty space where hope used to be. In the days that followed, I tried to keep my head above water. I couldn't afford to drown in the past, but I couldn't shake the feeling that her absence had hollowed out something inside me. I threw myself into my work, every second of the day spent convincing myself that I didn't need her, that I could survive this. But survival was harder than I thought. There were nights when the loneliness was louder than the noise in my head, when the weight of rejection felt heavier than any debt I owed. But life had a funny way of pushing me forward. Slowly, things began to shift. It wasn't much, just enough to give me hope again. I landed a better job. I started to make connections. Slowly, but surely, I pulled myself out of the hole I had fallen into. I was no longer the broken man she had left behind. Still, every success, every small victory felt bitter. As if her ghost was there, lingering just beyond my reach. I used to wonder if Emily ever thought about me. About the version of me she had walked away from. Did she ever regret it? Did she look back and see the man she left behind and wonder if he could have been different? Of course it didn't matter. She was gone, and I had to learn to live with that. But I couldn't help but feel the sting. The betrayal, the heartbreak, it had left scars. And no amount of success could erase them. But I kept moving forward. Because what else could I do? I couldn't let her be the reason I stayed stuck in the past. I had to prove to myself that I could be more than the man she thought I was. I would rise from the ashes of my own failure, with or without her, so I pushed myself harder. I worked longer hours. I made connections, fought battles, and rebuilt my life from the ground up. The man I was becoming was nothing like the one she had known. This man had learned how to survive. How to stand tall even when the weight of everything that had happened still threatened to crush him. One day I knew I'd be the man she'd never recognize. And maybe, just maybe, she would regret walking away. I was exhausted, both mentally and physically. Every day felt like a battle, and every night I fell asleep wondering if all of it was even worth it. But I couldn't stop, not now. Not after everything that had happened. I had to keep moving forward. I had to prove to myself that I could rise above the mess I'd been left in. I spent days buried in work. Long hours, no weekends. My friends stopped calling me out, and Emily, well, she was a ghost now. I buried my emotions, tucked them deep where they wouldn't get in the way. I threw myself into learning. Every business course, every finance article, every skill that could push me ahead, I devoured it. I knew I had to be better than who I was when she left me. I couldn't let her be the last memory I had. Liam, are you even listening to me? I blinked, breaking out of my thoughts. I turned to see Tom standing there, his arms crossed, watching me with a raised brow. Tom had become my mentor at work. He was older, more experienced, and he didn't mince words. "Sorry, what did you say?" I muttered, running a hand through my hair. "I asked if you're going to keep beating yourself up over this. The past is gone. You've got to stop letting it drag you down." Tom's voice was firm but not unkind. "You're smarter than this." I let out a breath, frustration bubbling up. "It's not that easy. I can't just forget what happened, Tom. Every time I take a step forward, I feel like the past is right behind me, pulling me back. You need to stop using the past as an excuse. Look at where you are now. You're in a much better place than when I first met you. Don't you see that?" He leaned forward, his gaze piercing through me. "You've got the skills, you've got the drive. What's left is believing that you deserve better." I hated how right he was. I hated that I couldn't argue with him. "I don't know if I deserve it, Tom," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I just feel lost." Tom's expression softened. "You've been lost, sure, but you're finding your way now. You've got the talent. What you need is the courage to see it through. You don't need to be stuck in the past anymore." His words hit me harder than I expected. There was a part of me that wanted to tell him he didn't understand, that he couldn't possibly know what it was like to lose everything. But I kept quiet. He was right in a way. The world wasn't going to stop spinning just because I was stuck in my head. That night, I worked late again. My phone buzzed on the desk, but I ignored it. No time for distractions. I'd reached a point where I knew I had to push myself beyond limits, where sleep and food were secondary to my goals. The next few days felt like a blur. I went to work, worked harder than ever, and barely slept. But something started to shift. I saw results. I wasn't just spinning my wheels anymore. I was climbing slowly but surely. The projects I worked on were starting to gain attention. My boss was noticing, and even though he didn't always say it, I could tell he was impressed. Still, I couldn't escape the nagging thought of Emily. Every time I hit a milestone, every time I saw progress, I couldn't help but wonder what she'd think if she saw me now. Would she be proud? Or would she just feel indifferent? "Liam!" I was snapped out of my thoughts again, this time by my boss, Mr. Carson. "Come to my office, now." I stood up immediately, trying to shove the nagging thoughts of Emily aside. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. Inside his office, Mr. Carson looked at me, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Liam, I've been watching your work. You've shown a lot of promise lately, and I think it's time to give you more responsibility. There's a position opening up in the business development department. It's a big step up. I think you're ready for it." My heart skipped a beat. "Are you serious?" He nodded, his smile widening. "I've seen the effort you've put in. You've been working like a man on a mission, and it shows. I believe this is the perfect opportunity for you, but of course you'll need to be ready for the challenge." I tried to keep my cool, but inside I was jumping with excitement. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. The thing that could finally push me into the life I wanted. "Thank you. I won't let you down," I said, my voice steady, but my hands were shaking. "Good," Mr. Carson replied, offering a firm handshake. "Now get to work. I want you to prove me right." As I walked back to my desk, I couldn't stop the grin spreading across my face. For the first time in months, I felt like things were starting to go my way. This was my chance. I wasn't going to waste it. I couldn't help but think back to Tom's words. "You've got the talent. What you need is the courage to see it through." And for the first time, I believed it. But in the back of my mind, there was still a part of me that wondered, would Emily ever realize what she lost? I thought I had moved on. I really did. But then, as I was going through my emails one afternoon, a name appeared on the screen. Emily. My heart skipped, and for a moment I froze, my fingers hovering above the keyboard. "Liam, you okay?" Tom asked, looking up from his desk, noticing my sudden stillness. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I just got some work to catch up on. But it wasn't work. It was her. My ex-girlfriend, Emily. The last person I ever expected to hear from again." I opened the email cautiously, my stomach twisting. The subject line read, "Job application, business development." She was applying for a position at my company. My company? The one I'd fought tooth and nail to build. The one that was starting to take off. I leaned back in my chair, trying to breathe. But the memories of everything she put me through came rushing back, choking me. "What the hell?" I muttered to myself, Tom appeared beside me. You okay, man? I don't know, I admitted. Emily, she's applying for a job here. Tom frowned. That's unexpected. Tell me about it, I said, running a hand through my hair. My mind was spiraling. I couldn't focus. The betrayal, the heartbreak, all of it came rushing back. You gonna let her in? Tom asked quietly. Or is this some kind of test? I shook my head. I don't know. She left me when I was at my lowest. Now she wants to come crawling back? After all this time? I don't even know what to think anymore. Tom sighed, crossing his arms. Liam, listen. You're not the same guy you were back then. She doesn't have control over you anymore. If you want to confront her, fine. But don't let her tear you apart again. You've built something for yourself. Don't let her come in and mess with your head. I wasn't sure if he was right, but a part of me was itching for some kind of closure. I wanted to confront her, ask her why she'd done what she did. Was I just another stepping stone for her? Or did she regret everything? I closed the email without responding. I needed time to think. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment staring at the walls. It had been years since I had to deal with Emily's ghost, but here I was, still haunted. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Liam, it's Emily. Can we talk? I stared at the screen, my mind racing. What did she want? Why now? I was angry. So angry. How dare she think she could just come back into my life like nothing had happened? After everything, after leaving me when I was nothing, after breaking my heart, she was asking to talk. But then a part of me, the part I didn't want to acknowledge, whispered, maybe she's changed. Maybe she's sorry. I shoved the thought aside. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her at all. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours. Then I typed, "What do you want, Emily?" A few minutes passed before she responded. I'm sorry for everything, Liam. I know I can't take back the past, but I really need this job. Please, I'm not asking for anything else. Just a chance. I sat there, my heart thundering in my chest. The memories of her, of us, flooded my mind. But I couldn't let that cloud my judgment. She didn't get to just waltz back into my life because she needed something. I tapped out a quick reply. I'll think about it. I knew I was lying to myself. Part of me wanted to confront her, to demand an explanation. But another part, the better part, knew that I was letting the past control me again. I had worked too hard to build this company, too hard to build me, to let her come in and ruin it all. But then again, was it revenge I wanted? Or closure? I thought about the choice in front of me, but nothing felt clear anymore. Everything seemed blurred. And as much as I hated to admit it, Emily's presence, whether through an email, a text, or a job application, was still pulling me back to a version of myself I couldn't quite let go of. I stared at the screen for a long time before finally putting my phone down. Tomorrow I'd make a decision, and it would be final. But for tonight, I just wanted to sleep, to escape, to forget. But deep down, I knew that wasn't possible. The decision weighed heavily on me. Emily. The woman who had left me when I needed her most. The woman who had betrayed me at my lowest. And now, after all this time, she was back, asking for a second chance. She wanted a job at my company. The company I'd worked so hard to build from nothing. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sat at my desk late into the night, staring at the email she'd sent. It felt like a cruel joke. She thought she could just come back, waltz into my life again like nothing had happened. She had no right. You're still thinking about her, aren't you? Tom asked from the doorway, his voice cutting through the silence. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the screen. Liam, Tom repeated, walking into the room and sitting across from me. What's going on? You look like you're about to explode. I finally turned to him. She's back, Tom. Emily, she's applying for a job here. Can you believe that? After everything, after the way she left me? Now she wants to work here. In my company. Tom raised an eyebrow. She's asking for your help, huh? I nodded, clenching my fists. Help? No, she wants an opportunity. She wants to climb on my back again. She left me when I was nothing, and now that I'm building something, she thinks she can just come back in? Tom paused. You're angry. I'm more than angry. I'm furious. I'm hurt. She doesn't get to just walk in here after all these years. She doesn't get to just pretend like nothing happened. Tom let out a deep sigh. But what's your plan, Liam? Are you going to deny her because she hurt you? Or are you going to let that bitterness go and make a decision based on who you are now? I didn't answer. The idea of forgiveness made me sick. But revenge felt good. For a moment, I let myself imagine what it would be like. I could sabotage her application. I could block her at every turn. I could make sure she never even got close to a chance. The thought made my blood burn with satisfaction. But then, the thought of what that would do to me, to my soul, it made me hesitate. Was I really that person now? The person who used his power to hurt others? Wasn't that what she had done to me? Had I learned nothing? I don't know what to do, I whispered. Tom leaned forward. Liam, listen to me. What happened between you two? That's in the past. She's not the same person, and neither are you. If you want to punish her, go ahead. But ask yourself this. Will it make you feel better? Or will it just keep you stuck in the same place you've been? I sat in silence, Tom's words sinking in. Could I really keep going like this? Holding on to the past and using it to justify my actions? Or had I moved beyond that? I stood up, pacing the room. I want her to feel it, Tom. I want her to feel the pain she caused me. You're not going to heal by making her hurt, Tom said softly. You'll only hurt yourself in the process. I clenched my jaw, the words stinging. He was right, damn it. I wasn't thinking clearly. My emotions were clouding my judgment. Revenge was easy. Healing was hard, but before I could say anything, my phone buzzed on the desk. It was a message from Emily. Can we talk? Please! I stared at it, my heart hammering in my chest. She was still trying. Still reaching out. I felt a surge of anger, followed by an unexpected pang of guilt. Why did this feel like I was about to make the biggest mistake of my life? Tom didn't say anything, but I could tell he was waiting for me to make my choice. His silence spoke volumes. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. I could easily delete the message. I could ignore her. I could just focus on my work, forget she ever existed, but I couldn't do it. I let out a breath, walking over to the desk. Fine, I'll meet with her. Tom raised an eyebrow. Are you sure about this? No, I said, staring down at the phone. But I can't keep running from her. I need to face this. I need to decide if I can move on or if I'm going to let her continue to haunt me. I pressed the button to reply. Meet me at 3 p.m. tomorrow. The text sent. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just agreeing to meet her. I was agreeing to confront everything I'd buried for so long. The pain, the betrayal, the bitterness. I was about to face all of it, and I wasn't sure if I was ready. The day after I agreed to meet Emily, things started to unravel. I sat at my desk, my mind a mess of contradictions. I thought about how only a few days ago I had made the decision to sabotage her. I thought about the emails I'd sent, making sure her application would be ignored. I thought about how good it felt, how right it felt, to take control, to make her pay for what she did. But now Emily had been rejected, and I was facing consequences I never imagined. My phone buzzed constantly with calls from people I considered allies. You're not answering your emails, Tom said when he finally found a moment to speak with me. Liam, you've got a mess on your hands. I know, I muttered, glancing at the unread messages piling up. I did what I had to do. She doesn't deserve anything from me. Maybe, but your actions are starting to make people question you. Tom's eyes were cold, his usual support now tinged with disappointment. Your decisions are affecting the company's reputation. Your name's on the line here, I froze. I hadn't even thought about that. I was so focused on Emily, on revenge, that I forgot about the bigger picture. The company I'd worked so hard to build, the thing that had given me purpose after everything, was now at risk. What are you saying? I asked, my voice tight. I'm saying that people are starting to talk, Liam. You can't just throw your weight around like this. You need to own up to what you've done before it gets worse. My stomach twisted. The last thing I wanted was to have my work questioned. To have the company I'd spent sleepless nights building crumble because of some petty decision I made out of bitterness. I'll fix it, I said, even though I wasn't sure how. But no amount of fixing would change what had already happened. Emily was gone, and I was left with the wreckage of my own making. A few hours later, my phone rang again. This time it was from Emily. She'd somehow managed to find my number despite everything, and I could hear the desperation in her voice. Liam, please, she said. I need to talk to you. I know I messed up. I know what I did was wrong, but I've changed. I've learned. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I pressed the phone harder to my ear, the anger rising up in me once again. Sorry, that's it? You walk away when things get tough, and now you think a few words can make it all better? I wasn't thinking, okay? Her voice cracked. I was scared and I made a mistake. I thought I could just leave and start over, but it's not that easy. I hurt you and I regret it. Every day. But I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I just need you to know that I was wrong. Her words should have softened me, but instead I felt even more conflicted. I wanted to scream at her, to make her feel the pain she'd caused. But then something else washed over me, emptiness. Was this all really worth it? Revenge had tasted sweet, but now it was starting to sour in my mouth. What do you want from me, Emily? I asked, the words cold. Do you want to come back? Do you want to pick up where we left off? No, she exclaimed, her voice rising. I just want to explain. I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to understand that I was lost too, Liam. And I'm sorry for how I treated you. But this thing, it doesn't define me anymore. I could hear the vulnerability in her voice. She wasn't the same person who had walked away. But I wasn't sure I could just forgive her either. You left me when I needed you most, I said, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and regret. I don't know if I can ever forget that. I know, she said softly. And I don't expect you to. But please, don't let this destroy you. Don't let this destroy us. That hit me harder than I expected. Was this about us? Or was I just holding on to something that no longer existed? I spent the rest of the evening pacing, my mind a war zone. I thought about everything, about her betrayal, about my decisions, about how far I had come. And I realized something. My actions, my anger, had put everything at risk. I had destroyed everything in my quest for revenge. The company was spiraling, my reputation tarnished, and Emily was gone. What was the point of winning if I lost everything else in the process? The next day I called a meeting. It was time to face the consequences. Liam, Tom said as I walked into the conference room, you need to fix this. You need to make things right. I nodded, not needing to hear it again. I will. I've been a fool. I let my emotions drive me, and now it's time to pay the price. I don't know how much more time you have, Tom warned. You've burned some bridges already. I know. I rubbed my temples. But I'll fix it. I'll take responsibility for what I did. I'll clean up the mess I made. That afternoon, I sent out an apology to everyone involved. I reached out to the team, explained my mistakes, and promised to rebuild what I'd damaged. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Later, I sat alone in my office, the weight of everything sinking in. Emily had left a mark on my soul, but it was my own actions that had burned everything else to the ground. The man who sought revenge was no more. Now I had to rebuild, not just the company, but myself. As the phone buzzed again, I looked at it for a long moment before finally hitting delete. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about her. Maybe it was about me. And if I wanted to move forward, I needed to stop looking back. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew this. I was done letting the past control me. It was time to let it go. I sat at my desk, staring out the window, my mind drifting over everything that had happened. The company, my personal life, it all felt like a tangled mess. But now, in the stillness of the morning, I was beginning to see it for what it truly was, a lesson. A painful, hard lesson, but one that had changed me in ways I hadn't expected. I ran a hand over my face, the weight of everything pressing down on me. The last few weeks had been hell. My company had been on the brink of collapse because of my decisions. The people I'd trusted had started to turn their backs on me. And Emily, I hadn't heard from her in days. The last message she'd sent was short, apologetic, but it didn't matter anymore. She was gone, just like I'd wanted her to be. But now I wasn't sure I felt the relief I thought I would. Liam? Tom's voice cut through my thoughts. He was standing in the doorway, looking at me like he wasn't sure whether he should interrupt. I looked up, meeting his eyes. Hey, you all right? He asked, stepping inside. You've been quiet. Too quiet, I shrugged. I'm fine. Just thinking, Tom leaned against the desk. About Emily? I didn't answer right away. I didn't need to. The way my stomach twisted told him everything. Yeah, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. She's gone. And I let her go. But I'm still carrying the weight of it. You're carrying it because you're holding on to it, Tom said, his voice calm but firm. Liam, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep letting your past decisions control who you are now. If you don't let it go, you'll never move forward. You'll be stuck in this loop, always blaming her, always blaming yourself. I looked down, my fingers tapping the desk, but it's not that simple. She hurt me, Tom. She walked away when I needed her most. Tom sighed, sitting down across from me. I know she hurt you. But you're not the same person anymore. And she isn't either. You've got to stop seeing her as the villain in your story. I met his gaze. What am I supposed to do? Just forget about everything that happened? No, but you've got to make peace with it. You've got to forgive her. And yourself. Otherwise, you'll never break free. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Forgiveness? It seemed impossible. But something inside me, something deep down, knew that Tom was right. If I didn't let go of the anger, the regret, I'd be doomed to keep repeating the same mistakes. I couldn't keep punishing myself, and I couldn't keep holding on to the bitterness that had poisoned everything. I finally spoke, my voice quiet but steady. I get it. I've been holding on to all the wrong things. Tom smiled, his relief evident. It's a hard lesson, but you're learning. You've got a lot of potential, Liam. Don't waste it on things that don't matter anymore. That evening, I sat alone in my office, the quiet hum of the city outside offering a strange comfort. My phone buzzed, and I saw that it was a message from Emily. Liam, I know we can't go back, and I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted to say goodbye. I hope you find the peace you deserve. I'll never forget what we had. I stared at the screen for a long time. There was no anger, no bitterness in her words. Just an understanding that we had both moved on. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something shift inside me. I didn't feel the urge to reply, to confront her, or to fight for some sense of closure. I realized that the closure I needed had to come from me, not from her. I sat back, letting out a slow breath. She was right. We couldn't go back. But that didn't mean we had to be stuck in the past. We both had to move forward, even if that meant leaving each other behind. I tapped out a quick response. Goodbye, Emily. I hope you find your peace too. And just like that, it was over. The next day, I walked into the office with a new sense of purpose. The weight I had been carrying for so long was gone, replaced by something lighter, something clearer. I wasn't running from my past anymore. I was learning from it. I had made mistakes, but that didn't mean I had to be defined by them. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and started working on the next steps for the company. I wasn't going to waste time regretting what I couldn't change. The future was ahead of me, and for the first time, I felt ready to face it. There would be challenges, I knew that. But now I had a new vision for myself and my company. A vision rooted in growth, not revenge. I was finally free. And in that freedom, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. I sat in the conference room, watching the team brainstorm ideas for our next big project. There was a lightness in the air that I hadn't felt before. For the first time, I wasn't just focused on hitting targets or increasing profits. I was listening to my employees, their voices filled with passion and excitement. I was truly present in the moment, appreciating the people around me, not just the success I had built. Liam, what do you think? Sarah, one of my project managers, asked, snapping me out of my thoughts. I smiled, shaking my head slightly. Sorry, I was just thinking about how far we've come. I'm proud of all of you. This company is more than just numbers to me now. It's about what we're building together. Sarah smiled back, clearly pleased. That's the spirit, Liam. You've changed a lot. I thought about her words as I looked around the room. There was no longer that heavy, suffocating weight I had carried for so long. My anger, my need for revenge, those were things of the past. I had built this company from the ground up, yes. But the success wasn't just in the bottom line anymore. It was in the relationships I had fostered, in the trust I had earned. After the meeting ended, I stayed behind, my thoughts wandering. Things were different now. I was different. I had made peace with the past, and it had allowed me to finally step into the man I was supposed to be. I wasn't just a businessman. I was someone who valued integrity, who valued people over profits. Tom walked in as I was finishing up some notes. How's the team doing? They're doing great, I said, looking up and meeting his eyes. I think they're really starting to see what I see in this company. It's more than just a paycheck. It's about growth. Tom nodded, his expression softening. That's the shift I've been waiting to see in you. You're not just the guy who wants to win anymore. You're the guy who wants everyone to win. I chuckled softly. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I'm learning. You've come a long way, Liam, Tom said, his tone sincere. I remember when you were so caught up in your anger and resentment that it consumed you. You're not that guy anymore. I took a deep breath, thinking about how far I'd come. The road hadn't been easy. There had been moments when I wanted to give in to the bitterness, to lash out at Emily and everyone who had wronged me. But I had learned that holding on to that pain only kept me stuck. I guess I had to go through all of that to realize what really matters, I said, leaning back in my chair. I spent so long focusing on the wrong things, chasing success without understanding what it truly meant. Tom smiled. And what does success mean to you now? I paused, thinking about it. It means creating a place where people can grow, where we can build something meaningful together. It's not just about the money or the fame anymore. It's about the people I surround myself with and the impact we have. Tom raised his eyebrows. That's a huge shift, Liam. You're not just thinking about yourself anymore. No, I said with a small smile. I'm not. I think I finally get it. Success doesn't mean anything if it doesn't come with peace. I spent so much of my life trying to prove something to the world, but now I realize I was really just trying to prove it to myself, and that was never the answer. Later that evening, I stood in front of the window staring out at the city lights below. The view had always been a symbol of my ambition, a reminder of everything I was trying to achieve. But tonight it felt different. I wasn't just looking at the city as a goal to conquer anymore. I was seeing it as a place to live, to experience, to be a part of something bigger. I thought back to everything I had been through. Emily's betrayal, my own mistakes, the anger I carried for so long. It had all led me here, to this moment, to this new version of myself. I had spent years running from my past, but now I understood that it was the past that had shaped me. It had taught me the hardest lessons, the ones I needed to learn in order to move forward. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly, feeling the weight of it all finally lift. The past had been painful, but it didn't define me anymore. I was not the man who sought revenge. I was not the man who let bitterness control him. I was someone new, someone who could let go, someone who could forgive. As I stood there, I realized that this was the true meaning of success. It wasn't the business I had built, the clients I had won, or the title I had earned. It was the peace I had found within myself. The understanding that I didn't have to fight the world anymore. I didn't have to be angry. I didn't have to prove anything. I smiled to myself, feeling a sense of calm wash over me. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. I was finally ready for what was to come, and I knew with certainty that this was just the beginning.